Okay, so one of the things that was brought up when I was starting to put together our agenda for 2021 was I started asking different technicians and contractors some of the topics that they would like for us to cover. And I was really surprised at the amount of basic training courses that was requested. One that was very popular was tool bags, and what tool bags do I use? What tools do I need in my tool bag? Because a lot of technicians coming into the field may not be introduced to all of the tools that they're going to need while they're going to be out, working in the HVAC and refrigeration industry. So I thought it appropriate to just kind of dive into some of the different tool bags. I've had a variety of them over time, and I've equipped them very differently over time. But as I grew in the profession, I started getting a little bit more catered to my application. And so I actually ended up with a couple combinations within my tool bag. So I actually had a couple small tool bags within my larger tool bag. So depending on where I was working, I needed to make sure that I had the right tools and that I could get them there appropriately. So, and I've always been hounded on my tool bag. Um, I have had so many people harass me about my tool bag and goes, hey, you ever work out of that thing, or is that your display tools? So I know I don't have display tools. I take very good care of my tools, and I'm kind of meticulous with my tool bag. It's not always really been that way though. I mean, I started out as a grunt, so I started out with leftover tools and hand-me-down tools and yard sale tools and pawn shop tools, and it just kind of grew over time. And as I started investing into higher quality tools and higher quality tool bags, it took a lot of research and a lot of trial and error to find the ones that worked best for me. So I want to go over a few of them, so especially some of our younger technicians can see the different options that are available and some of the tools that we keep in them. And we're actually going to do a tear down of my tool bag so we can see what all junk I keep in my trunk. So here at Johnstone Supply, we carry a variety of tool bags. We sell a lot of the CLC products. Paul, do you guys stock the CLC line as well?
Yes, we do.
Good tool bags, and they have a variety of different styles. And so we keep in stock, I don't know, 5 or 6 different selections, but we can get more of them. So if you walk into a Johnstone and you don't see exactly what you're looking for, just go to the parts counter and look through the catalog and see what can be, picked up for you. So one real popular one is the backpack, and I'm a backpack tool carrying kind of guy. I just, once you climb a few ladders, and then go through a few escape hatches with your hands full, you'll find the beauty of a quality backpack tool bag. So that's what I've ended up with over the last 7 or 8 years anyhow. So one of them that is very common for us to sell is the 36 pocket E-charge, they call it. So it actually has a rechargeable light with a little boom LED light that comes out of it. Really handy piece, because if your tool bag is on your backpack, it's on your back, and you're climbing through a dark hatch and you don't have much lighting, well, you've got a little accessory light that you can bring out, and it's got a little flexible wand on it. And it's got a rechargeable battery pack that you can use for recharging phones as well. So handy little piece. It was kind of a neat little setup. We also do like the 44 pocket. That is a smaller backpack. And I will tell you, it's easy to overpack your tool pack. So be mindful of how much weight you actually want to carry. So if you want to start small, that 44 pocket one is a good place to begin. It's not super heavy, super bulky. And we have the guys that like using the bucket bags, which I have used before. They worked good for me for installation, but not for service. So on the installation side, I could put a lot of miscellaneous parts down inside of it and just keep all my basic hand tools on the perimeter, and it worked out fine. And we do sell a lot of those. We have some short ones, we have some deep ones that'll fill a deeper bucket, like a 6-gallon bucket. But we keep a few of those around. We also have the larger tool bag, the actual traditional tool bag, and I have used traditional tool bags in the past. The only downfall that I find with a wide mouth tool bag is that it tends to collect a lot of junk. So the only way I was able to to keep my sanity and manage my wide mouth tool bag was to use individual dividers. So I would actually go to my local sporting goods shop and buy fishing tackle containers, which now you see them all over the place in different styles. But 20 years ago, a good clear compartment was a tackle box insert. So I would use clear containers for all my different wire nuts and miscellaneous pieces. Even some of my smaller relays and contactors, some of the common parts actually would have individual ones that I could pull off the shelf and put in my tool bag, just so that it didn't fill up with too many things. But I use those largemouth quite often. If I was using the actual mouth tool bag, I use these smaller ones like the Milwaukee. It just really is a convenient size and had a strap so that I could throw it over my shoulder. And so that 48 series Milwaukee, it's a really, really convenient little tool bag. But at the same time, you can't put a ton of things in it. So good for weight and good for, it's a good installation piece if you're climbing ladders. It's a very handy tool pouch to have. It also has a place on it where you can set your drill if you're using a small impact drill. We also carry like the field piece line of tool bags. We keep a few of them here. That BG44 is a real common service tool bag. It's got multiple compartments on it on the outside, so you can keep things like your CO detectors or combustion analyzers and your meters and your dual port manometers. Those will all fit into the pouches that are on the outside of that. And then you have a nice, I would consider a mid-sized tool compartment for it. So you can keep a nice selection of tools. Great bag for electricians as well. A pretty popular one for that industry. And we carry a variety of the Klein tool bags. And if you don't know me, you'll find that I'm a Klein fanatic. I always have been. I still have my original Klein linemans and my diagonals from 20. They were both used when I got them. So they're at least 25 to 30 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. And they're still great tools. And Klein makes some tool bags as well, and we keep a few of them. We actually don't stock the one that I use, which I think is kind of odd. I've brought that up to a couple different people, and I don't think they realized the one that I carry actually has a padded laptop pouch in the back of it, and I'll show you here in a second. So the ones that we keep are kind of a mid variety of them. Most of them are the Tradesman Pro series, so they're very high quality. Most of them are triple stitched, so they're built rugged. They're built to hold some weight. One time I measured my tool pouch and I had 43 pounds. So it takes a triple stitched tool backpack to hold 43 pounds. So they're well constructed, and anyone that knows Klein knows that it's a high quality product. And Klein makes a variety of different tool bags and tool pouches we have access to. A lot of installers like using tool boxes that are on wheels. I've used the Milwaukee version of this one before. I've not actually used the Klein one, but it was very handy for installation because I can keep a variety of different parts and pieces there, and then I can lock it up when I go to lunch too. So it's very handy for commercial installation applications or commercial servicing. And they carry small totes, and they carry that mid-sized tote, which that one in the middle, I've used that one before. I've used the actual bag style. I've never had the bucket one. That's just something I never really got into. We had one at the shop. I just didn't find it was for me. If you want the Cadillac of tool bags, Vito makes an amazing lineup of tool bags. Very rugged, very heavy duty. They come with a 5-year warranty. All great big industrial D-rings, and it's just an amazingly well constructed tool bag. So of all the tool bags that I have had encounters with over the years, most technicians preferred the Vito line of bags, and they're very expensive, but they are very, very well built. We actually don't even stock them here at Johnstone. I just wanted people to be aware of the Vito line. Do you stock the Vito stuff, Paul?
Yeah, the Vito is probably our main seller. We stock it, and that's what I carry them. That's too. So I've been Vito for probably 10 years now.
Tech LC and MB.
I got the backpack that does not have the laptop. It's a standard backpack, and then I have side pouches that clip on. So I separated out, kind of like you were talking about, different bags for different setup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great lineup. I wish we carried them, but we actually don't carry them here. So that's cool that you guys carry them. That got me a little bit of prodding to do now. So have you had pretty good success out of yours? I mean, have you actually wore one out?
Yeah, I've had the same backpack for, man, it's been probably 8 years now, and I've never had an issue with it. And the side pouch, which I think is the MB2, I think what it is, the meter bag.
It is.
It clips right on the side of it on those D-rings. And so I actually can carry it on my backpack, and then I have all my electrical in the MB bag.
Yep.
So all my needle nose, my meter, and anything electric related is in there. So if I need to climb up a ladder or do something electrical, I just unsnap that, and that goes right on my belt.
Yep.
And that, I will say too, real quick, their warranty, they are legit with a 5-year warranty.
Yeah.
So I had my MB2 bag for probably about 4 years, and the Velcro started to wear down a little bit to where the flap wouldn't always stick. They just asked me for a photograph of it, and they sent me a brand new one. I had it a couple days later, and they didn't want the old one back. So
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I always like to talk about our history and where we came from. When we talk about tool bags, tool bags have been around a long time. You get a lot of technicians go, man, I'm so glad we got away from toolboxes and went to tool bags. And I'm like, well, it may be the other way around. We may have been doing tool bags before toolboxes, and we just kind of went back and forth because we've used tool bags for a very, very long time in a variety of different forms and combinations. So I've really found some interesting facts about tool bags as I was diving into them a little bit. So I'll launch a poll real quick. So how long do you think we have been using tool bags? I had to actually think about it myself for a minute and dive into the research a little bit. So let me launch this and get some ideas. Is it 50 years? Because if we think about it, we've gotten away from some of the leather constructed tool bags, but we've started seeing a lot more of them. But we can obviously look back and see that we've been using them for a while, and we've been hand making them for some time. So what do you think? 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 2,000 years, 2 million years? So it was fairly well divided up. So we have a majority of the people saying around 2,000 years and quite a few people saying 100 years, which would make sense. We've been working on vehicles for 100 years. So, tool bags would definitely have been around 100 years ago. Well, what I found was very interesting. What I found was that we believe tool bags have been around for over 2 million years. So we find cave drawings that show details of woven satchels that were carried around the waist. And some of these paintings we know are at least in the tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. But if we think about how long we've actually been carrying tools, it would make sense that we may have been using tool bags thousands or millions of years ago, because we have found tools, hand carved tools in like the Aldoan Gorge in Tanzania in Africa that are dated over 2.5 million years old. And early man would have had to have used his hands for things like hunting and gathering. And when we see these depictions of satchels around the waist, we can only assume that they were using their tools to put in their pouches while they were traveling so that they would have use of their hands to provide for everything else. So we even have examples. The oldest known example came from Otzi, which if you don't know much about Otzi, it was one of the best preserved mummies that we have found. It is dated about 3,500 years old. It was a frozen sarcophagus that had all of his remnants with him. It was found in the 1990s in the Alps. And what was very interesting about that was with Otzi is we have a very clearly detailed tool bag made out of goat skin. And it had a leather strap on it that was 2 yards long so that it could be used in multiple positions. And it was also found remnants of a wooden frame that would have been a backpack. And so inside of that tool pouch, we find tools. We find birch bark containers, which had remnants of charcoal, which meant they were probably carrying charcoal. They were probably carrying pieces of their fire with them. Because remember, that was what changed the course of evolution, is when we actually could take fire with us and we could produce fire and duplicate fire on our own. So carrying remnants of fire with us was very important to the survival of early man. So inside of this tool pouch, we actually find miniature tool pouches inside the tool pouch that had tools in them. We had charcoal inside of this particular one. We also find that inside of that we had things like carved bone. So we look at that and we can see, well, there's tools for writing. We also have tools for hunting and for cutting. So, you know, if we look at that, I could imagine my own tools being in a pouch like that, the things that I need for survival. I would love to be able to write, I would love to be able to measure, and I would love to be able to hunt and to clean my food. So the tools of Otzi were inside of a goat skin bag around his waist so that he could be mobile 3,500 years ago, definitely. And we believe possibly a couple million years. So thought we'd dive into what I carry. And we'll look at my obsession with Klein tools and having the proper tools with me, and we'll get some opinions on what everyone else uses. So if we look at my bag, I use the Tradesman Pro Laptop Bag because everything that I did was with laptop or with some type of a tablet. So it looks like the standard Tradesman Pro backpack, but in the back side of it, it has a separate double padded sleeve so that you can put your laptop or you can put your mobile device in, and the zippers actually are lockable as well. So that's what I carry. I've had this one for about 5 years. So it was only in service. I only used it for about 2 years before I started working at Johnstone, but it got a lot of work for 2 years. It's a straight backpack style with, with the attachment cord. It's a pretty good size backpack, but that's because it's been loaded down well over the years. So inside my backpack, what do I keep inside my backpack? Well, my front pouch is slightly padded and I keep all of my stationery supplies. So stationery supplies are the things that I need fairly quick access to for making notes, for drawing out information on pieces of equipment that I'm working with. So I keep pens, I keep pencils, I keep a notepad, I keep markers. One of those, I keep the Milwaukee waterproof Sharpie. If you don't have a Milwaukee waterproof Sharpie, you need to get you a bundle of those. Those are fantastic tools to have. I keep all of my lockout tagout components. So I keep spare tags with my name and all my detailed information on them. And I keep a lockout padlock in there with a couple spare keys. I keep a pocket psychrometer. I keep spare SD cards because at that time I used a lot of SD cards for taking pictures and documenting. And I would keep a spare small tape measure, typically a 10-footer or so. And then I also kept extra earbuds and a variety of miscellaneous cables for my phone and for my PC. I kept earbuds because there were times that I'd be on roofs using my phone and the wind or the noise off from the equipment was loud enough that my phone didn't sound very well. So I kept a couple of pair of earbuds in there. Top compartment on the outside, I keep, typically, I've only got one pair in here right now, clear safety glasses, but I would actually keep 2 pair of safety glasses, one clear, one tinted. I keep reusable earplugs, and just behind there's a separate pouch, and I typically keep about 6 to 8 pair of disposable earbuds because there were times that I had, property owners or other members with me that were working on a piece of equipment. Or if I wanted to have them to see what I was working on, I could be in a machine room, which those compressor rooms get very loud. So I always kept spare disposable earbuds in case I needed to show somebody something. So variety of things. I also keep a few pair of disposable gloves. In today's industry, I would probably keep me a couple disposable masks in there. Ooh, Max, correct that one. And on the side, I keep a spare meter. That is a Klein meter. It's just a spare meter because it has the Klein name on it. It's not the fanciest meter in the world. It's just a spare meter. I always keep at least 2 meters with me at all times. So it's just a spare one. And that way it's easy to be seen. So if I need for someone to run over to my tool bag and get a second meter, it's on the outside where it's easy to be noticed. On the other side, I keep a duct tool because it is a brilliant piece of iron that is not technically a weapon. So it can be permitted in many places that don't allow weapons because it's not a weapon, it's a tool. It's a duct tool. So great present for all of your friends and family too, because it's not a technical weapon, it's a tool. And I also have a sleeve where I keep a variety of different channel locks. I actually keep 3 different pair on there. My larger ones, actually were here at home. I didn't have them in my tool bag. So I keep 3 different sizes of channel locks in my side zipper pouch. When I dive inside, I don't want to forget about the little Klein magnetizer, demagnetizer. If you don't have one of those, that is a super inexpensive investment that turns every regular screwdriver into a magnetized screwdriver, and you can also demagnetize with it as well. So really handy little piece, very lightweight, just slam it on a zipper and makes for a good piece. Oh, and yes, this is a uncleaned, undisturbed view of my tool bag. I didn't spend 2 hours prepping this thing so that I can do a class on it. This is how I keep my tools. I clean my tools before they go back into the tool bag. The tool bag is for storage and convenience. It's not for cruddy tools. So inside my tool bag, that front zipper, I keep a fuse puller because you don't want to be on a rooftop with a 50 amp fuse and you can't find the power for that thing. You want to be able to isolate power. So I always keep a fuse puller. I keep one of those little PVC cutters. I keep a I keep my service valve bit. So the little bit for opening service valves for unitary air conditioning equipment. It's a handy little tool to put into a refrigeration service wrench. I also keep a small lighter because there are times that we run into thermocouple appliances that need to be lit, and it's just handy to have. I also have that in there for if I'm doing shrink tubing, shrink wrap on electrical repairs. I've got me a small tool that I can heat my shrink wrap with, and I can also use it as an additional strike for my torch as a backup. And I keep a O-ring puller, which is just a single hook. And then I also keep a magnetic extendable pickup tool. And so I'll keep all that in a little pouch. That sealed pouch is where anything that gets a little dirty or greasy stays. So I keep my tubing cutters in there. I keep packing grease. So I keep plumbing grease in there. So there are times where if I've got an O-ring that needs to be greased, I've got a good packing grease. And I used to actually keep my sunblock in here. So if you're not using sunblock when you're working on the rooftops, put some in your tool bag. You don't want to be like me going to the dermatologist every 6 months and getting spots burn off because of being a macho man that doesn't need a hat and sunblock. And 15 years down the road, I look like a farmer on a roof because I've covered head to toe with big wide brim hat and caked with sunblock. And keep some sunblock in your tool bag. And a bundle of zip ties I keep in there. Handy friend to have as a service technician. I also keep my my core removal tools with spare Schraders. Make sure to keep plenty of them. I always kept at least a couple tubes in there. Sometimes I would actually keep my actual core removal tool in there as well. But I'll show you where I keep it most of the time. We'll get there in a minute. In my electrical bag, because if you notice, I've got in this particular one, I've got the Fluke. I am not brand I'm not brand preference on meters. Everyone has good meters. So I'm kind of a meter hoard. I've got Fluke, I've got Field Piece, I've got UEI, I've got Redfish, Klein. I think there's a Craftsman in there too. So a few different meters floating around. This particular one I would consider is my electrical meter. In that I keep my HVAC meter. I keep a Wiggy, so I've got a voltage detector, a current sensing detector. I keep an insulated small screwdriver. So that's good for all my thermostat connections. I know that it's going to be properly insulated. I also keep a couple jumper leads, and I keep my micro tips. So those micro test tips are very crucial to have in our environment where we're working with inverter technology that uses micro connectors. So those little micro tips are a must for your meter bag. And they are very sharp. Yes, I have been poked in the rear a few times with those. So the next time that you strip some 14 gauge wire, save some of your insulation. Fits perfectly over those and makes a nice little sleeve so that you don't poke yourself getting in and out of the bag or when you put the leads in your back pocket, because it's the closest thing to you. So keep some of those around. You're going to need those. When I get into the front of my tool bag, I keep a multi Allen wrench set. I keep a 25-foot tape measure. I keep a variety of electrical tape in different colors. I keep a ratcheting stubby driver, because there's places that you'll get into to have to take screws out that a full-size screwdriver or nut driver will not get to. So I keep a small ratcheting one in there, and then I also keep a razor blade. So that all sits in the front of my tool bag. When I get into my wrench compartment, I have a second set of Allen wrenches, because there's times where I have a smaller set, especially small set screws. So I have larger Allen wrenches in the front of my bag, smaller ones in the actual wrench pocket. I keep my ratcheting service wrenches both in straight and the offset. I only have the offset one in here, but I keep both of them in there. And I keep ratchet wrenches from 1/4 of an inch all the way up to 9/16 of an inch. And I keep an inspection mirror, and I keep a fin comb. And that way, if I'm on a roof and I've got some damaged condenser fins, I don't want to go back down to the van to grab a fin comb. I want to make sure to have it in my pouch. So there's a lot of different manufacturers that make lightweight fin combs. Well worth having on your tool pouch. In my screwdriver pouch, I keep a lockable style, so the clamping screwdriver. So if I'm working with especially on the electrical side, and I'm working with screws that I need to hold tightly, I will use that clamping style screwdriver. I keep my magnetic, and that's important to make sure that your nut drivers are magnetic. So if you need hollow ones, I keep hollow and magnetic as well. But the last thing you want to do is be working on a piece of equipment and lose a screw and can't get to it. So I keep my magnetic longer 1/4 and 5/16 nut drivers. I keep a demolition screwdriver, because there are times where we need to beat on things, right? And so linemen's make a great hammer, and the demolition screwdriver makes a good chisel. So it's well worth having both of them. And I keep my demolition screwdriver sharp, because sometimes it doubles as a gasket remover. So it's got a hardened tip on it, so it keeps a pretty sharp edge. Then I keep my 11-in-1 multi screwdrivers. I always keep 2 of them, because it's easy to put one someplace and forget it. I have multiple times found my own tools going back on service work. So I always make sure I got a couple screwdrivers. Last thing you want to do is be working on a job and not have a screwdriver handy. So I keep a couple screwdrivers. And I also keep a little terminal block screwdriver, which is a really handy screwdriver to have. It's got a nice long thin stem that fits inside terminal blocks, so it can double as a thermostat screwdriver as well. Really, really, really cool little piece to have. I keep a good metal file, because if I'm changing motors, especially if I'm using a universal motor, a lot of times the shaft is too long, so I'm gonna have to cut the shaft off, and I keep me a metal file in there for cleaning that. And I will also use that for cleaning really, really, really bad looking flame rods, because remember, I hear it all the time, you only need to use paper on a flame rod. Well, you can use a variety of things as long as you do it properly. So I keep me a good steel file. I keep insulated screwdrivers, so electrically rated for a minimum of 600 volts. I like a voltage rating above 1,000 volts. So minimum 600 volt rated insulated screwdrivers need to be double insulated. That way, if you are working on something live, you've got some decent protection with you. I keep a couple of styles of adjustable wrenches. That one Klein is the big mouth adjustable. It opens up well over an inch. I can't remember how far that thing actually opens up. It's close to 2 inches. It's pretty significant for a small adjustable. And then I also keep a little one around. I keep that little Emerson that I got in class, just a handy small adjustable. Keep all those in there. And then I keep my my wire strippers that have crimping capability to them. I keep a couple different size needle nose pliers. And then I also keep a set of diagonal pliers, and that is one of my original set of diagonal pliers when I got into the industry. So good tools can last a long time when you take care of those. And I do take these out and clean them and oil them regularly. I also have a set of Testo smart probes that I've had for a long time. So the case has gotten larger, and I don't know why Testo has done that. So the earlier ones have this very small case. So that case fits right into my tool bag. So if I'm going to do a service, I can take most everything that I need in one tool bag. So inside of my wireless gauges, I keep a couple of things. So with that Testo case, it's got that little divider in between the two halves. So I keep a core removal tool. I actually keep a couple of them. So I have one on the left side. On the right side, I have a smaller core removal tool, and I also have the larger adapter so that I can use my gauges and my tools on mini splits if I need to, because they have a larger access fitting. So I've got my standard, and then I've also got my mini split adapter. And then I use a couple short hoses so that if my Smart Probe refrigerant side cannot get to the access fitting, I've got an angled fitting now so that I can get into it easier. So some units you can't get that straight connection from your Smart Probe onto it, so it gives me a flexible extension with an angle to it. And I keep spare batteries in there as well, because you don't want to be on a roof and have one of your tools run out of batteries. So I keep all that in my little pouch. And if you're like me and you have family that likes to ask you to take a look at their air conditioners, this is a great way to get out of having to work on it. And go, well, I don't own gauges anymore. I can come here and I can check it and I can tell you what's wrong with it. And if you need anything else done to it, you have to call someone who can actually work on the thing. So I don't own a set of manifold gauges. I used to when I was in the field. As I got out of the field, I don't own manifold gauges anymore. I own my digital gauges so that I can diagnose something properly. But when it comes to the repair, I'm out. Time to call somebody else. So handy little thing to have. I also carry my little side pouch. So I use the Greenlee. I've used it for a long time. I've actually wore out 3 of these pouches. The one that I have now is probably needing to be replaced. In it, I buy these from, I actually get mine from
Menards.
So in that little Greenlee set, it's got my lineman's. It has another multi-screwdriver. It has a wire stripper, and it has a spare pouch on the side that I'll put a mag light. So that stays on my side at all times, but it does still fit back into my pouch there left of my meter. So I can put everything that I need in one tool bag, one backpack, throw it on my back. It's a lot of weight, but it has everything that I need. Or if I'm just going to do a little quick diagnostics, I've already got my tool pouch I can put on my belt, and I can grab my meter bag, and I'm a good service technician. If I think I might need gauges, I'll grab me an adjustable wrench and a pair of channel locks, and I'll throw them in my meter bag or in my little Testo Smart Probe box, and I can take that and not carry my backpack. So it gives us the flexibility of going to multiple different locations without taking everything. Or if I think I want to have it all, put it all inside my bag, head up the ladder, and I've got what I need with me. So that's what I carry, and that is my actual tools that I use. And it worked for me. I've had the briefcase style tool bags before that I really liked that had good shoulder straps. The downfall of using that style is then you're putting all of the weight of that tool bag on a single strap on one shoulder or the other. It's not exactly symmetrical, and it's not good for the back. So for me, the backpack has been a very good piece to have, and try to keep your tools fairly balanced in your backpack as well. Paul, what you got anything to add in there?
Just a couple of things I noticed going through, but they're just random questions, like your mag light. Is that the LED version of it?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Because they have an upgrade for that. You can make it LED. They do.
So actually, I'm so bad about keeping tools. I'm a hoarder. I admit it. I still use my original mag light from when I worked at Pfizer in the mid 90s. It's beat up. It has been dropped so many times. I probably have 5 or 6 mini mags, to be honest with you. But in my tool pouch is the Old Trusty. Old Trusty was a standard bulb. It was an incandescent bulb, and I used the LED. I've actually went through 2 different LED upgrades on it. The first one they had came with a new head, and it had like a deep funnel of a cone and just a small LED bulb. And the modern ones, you only had to replace the bulb itself, and so that's what's on it now, is the modern replacement. Yeah, it does have the LED conversion. Batteries will last longer. The only thing that I didn't like about the LED is that you can't focus it from a flood to a spot as easy as the original bulbs. But the originals, they just burn out, especially when you drop them and the spare bulb is in the little spring at the back side of the battery compartment. I had a tendency to get in there and have broken bulbs. So I do use the LED conversion.
I use a little pocket LED, and then just a little thing about that big. It fits in my pocket. I think it's like 700 lumens or something like that. But then after that, I'm pretty much a headlight guy.
I do have a few headlights as well.
One thing I do like about the Vitos, as far as the backpacks, they have that aluminum weight distribution bar across the back.
Really?
So if you have too much weight on one side, it kind of balances it. So that's super, super handy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's really nice. So you can't really see it very well, but the bag all the way onto the right, you got the black handle, and if you kind of look past it, there's a little bit of a gray underneath it. There's actually an aluminum bar that goes across from strap to strap, so it balances it out. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because well, you've seen mine. You set it down, and it's got a pretty good lean to it from all of that weight. And you know, it's been to a lot of job sites. That thing has been hauled around, set down, thrown down, laid on its side, on its back.
The only thing I'd comment is just really think through. You talked about you have like little bags inside of the bag, right? Really think through how you're going to use that, and it's going to morph over time. But when you get that set up right, it is so handy. This seems like a very nerdy conversation.
I love it though, because there's so many different options you can have. I've went to site visits and guys come walking out with their hands completely packed full of tool bags. I'm like, you got a back?
So I have that little MB2 bag clipped onto the side of my backpack, and like I was saying earlier, I use that as my electrical bag. I also have a couple little extra things in there to where I can do a complete furnace maintenance out of that bag right there. And it is, I mean, it's about that tall and about that wide. And I can do a complete furnace maintenance out of it. So on air conditioning, I have to grab my gauges and stuff. But I mean, with the smart probes, even that, you could do that really small and very simple.
Very compacted.
So you really think through your bag layout and let it morph over time to where it fits your application. But it's super handy.
Clean it out once in a while.
Yeah.
I have to say, as I was getting this prepared and I was going through, I pulled out a box of things that weren't necessary to have in there. I had a removal tool, a steel removal tool for pulling shower cores out. Like, there's an extra pound right there. It doesn't need to be in the tool bag. So I keep a lot of stuff in there just because I use it multi-purpose these days. But go through once in a while and do a re-inventory and see what you maybe don't need anymore, because it evolves over time.
I do keep a terminal box in mine as well.
So I don't have one in here, and I should.
I do keep a terminal box in mine, and I'm trying to think through everything I got. Pretty much, I think everything that you had, I had a lot of that. Can't think of everything.
It's fun stuff. Anybody else have any comments or questions while we got the polls open? It's a great topic. I was having fun with it, actually. All right, well, if there's no other comments or questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I really appreciate everyone being here, and spread the word. I'd love to see this thing grow. when we reopen up the Indianapolis location and Cincinnati location this summer, we're going to do a marketing push to get more advertising out for what we do, because it's fun. I mean, some days it's not as well organized as it could. Some days it's a hoot. So appreciate everyone very much. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time on Flex Train.
See you.